안녕하세요. This is the updated version of Lesson 3. The main content has not changed, but we try to put more details with clarity since this is the actual start of everything. You'll be able to make the actual sentences after studying a few lessons with us, we guarantee. So you might have to endure the time studying less fun part to have the strong fundamental with the basics. This is the YouTube version of Lesson 3. You can download 2-hour length of full video on our website. Let's take a look at the actual curriculum first. The entire courses will be divided into 3 levels, and each level will contain about 10 lessons. At level 1, you're going to learn mostly about how to make simple sentences. Lesson 1 and 2 are designed to teach you how to read and write Korean alphabet, and to practice the exact sound of each alphabet. From Lesson 3, at level 1, you are going to start learning how to make actual sentences. And at level 1, you're going to learn the relation between Korean particles and English prepositions, question forms, modifier, modals, how to make clauses and phrases, subjunctive sentence using if. And finally, you will wrap up level 1 learning less form that you can use to your friends. It will be really fun. And at level 2, you're gonna learn about other forms of sentences such as command, suggestion, and etc. And longer and more complicated sentences, more verbs, more adjectives, or more conjugations. At level 3, you're gonna learn mostly about conversational way to speak, as if you actually talk to native Koreans. You'll be able to make hundreds of sentences on your own just after finishing lesson 3 at level 1. What you need to do is just to find more vocabularies to use. Maybe it's a bit hard for someone to endure the time going through the lessons, but if you know the great pleasure of learning the new language, it's gonna be really fun. Okay, let's start. What is your secret of learning foreign language? I guess everybody has their own way. We are not gonna say that we are absolutely right about this, but most of us cannot learn the language as babies do. Babies are taking any language without distinguishing them. Babies are geniuses. They absorb any language like a sponge. But when adults, including teenagers, learn the new language, we tend to think the language you already know first and keep comparing the new language with it. The sentence structure, vocabulary, and everything. Nobody's really able to understand what native teacher says without explaining it in the language you already know when you learn the new language for the first time. So it'd be really hard to learn how to actually speak the new language if you use the materials that teach you only the sound of the colloquial expressions without the proper explanations. This is why our learning material is different from the others. We're gonna teach you how to make an actual sentence from the very basics. We exactly know what you need and what you don't need. Teaching how to make a sentence is different from teaching how to pretend to be fluent. We focus more on the basics to let you have the strong fundamental. Based on what you learned from us, you'll be able to make an actual sentence on your own, and eventually, you'll be able to make most of the sentences that you want to say. There's a possibility that you might not sound natural at the beginning, but everybody would understand. Plus, it'd be much better to make a simple sentence on your own based on the basics you learned from us than just imitate the sound without knowing what's really in it. Once you have the strong fundamental, then it's the time to be more fluent, maybe from half past the level 2 or level 3. Okay then, this is what we are going to do in this lesson. We're going to see how Korean verbs and adjectives look like. You don't have to know or understand them all. It's not only impossible, but also unnecessary at this point. So just casually take a look at it, just follow our lead. We are going to use the 5 basic sentence patterns in English to let you compare the structure of the English sentence with that of Korean sentence. You will realize it's not that big a deal sooner or later. And we're gonna learn some tense such as present simple, present continuous, and past tense in this lesson. And we're also gonna explain the pronunciation or the grammar whenever it's necessary. We're gonna use smaller font size from this lesson to include as many contents as possible. Okay, we talked a lot, hoping you understand our intention and passion. We'll stop talking and start the lesson from now on. We are really gonna start learning how to make actual Korean sentences. Are you ready for this? Okay, there are things you should know before we start this lesson. First, we're gonna use the term predicate in our lessons to indicate the word that works like a verb or a be verb in English. There are predicate verb, predicate adjective and predicate postposition in Korean. But never mind, don't worry about the grammar terms. Just remember this one. Adjectives in Korean work like verbs when they are used as a predicate. Okay? For example, as we say I go in English, we say I pretty without a be verb in Korean. Do you understand what it means? Therefore, adjectives in Korean change their forms as verbs do when they are used as a predicate like a verb in Korean. We'll let you know what it means very shortly. Second, verbs and adjectives in Korean seem to change a lot because when you insert the tense, the honorifics, or the negatives, it looks like the form of the verb or the adjective itself actually changes. Yes, it looks like it. There is a term conjugation in English, right? Yes, there is something like conjugation in Korean too. Plus, you can insert the nuance or meaning of suggestion or command by changing the form of a verb. But don't worry, we're going to try our best to explain about them good. You don't have to understand them all. You just need to understand what you have to understand for now. Third, we don't really use the infinitive of verbs or the basic form of adjectives when we make Korean sentences. In English, you always use them, like you use go or pretty all the time without changing the form of it, but that doesn't mean it's not important in Korean. We will show you the infinitive or the basic form of the adjective as much as we can because it's very important when you learn the diverse change of the verbs or adjectives, but mainly we are going to focus on the form that we use in a real-life conversation. By the way, let's call them both a basic form no matter it's a verb or an adjective because, as you said, Korean adjectives look the same as verbs do. So to avoid any confusion, let's call them both a basic form. Last but not least, we've got to tell you Korean is not an easy language to learn. It's mainly because of the flexibility and the variability that Korean has. But Hangul, the writing system, is relatively easy to learn. Well, frankly, it's super easy. So we strongly recommend you should learn the writing system first and then start this lesson. That will spur you on. So we will teach you how to make a Korean sentence from the very basic from this lesson. As you follow our lead, you'll find yourself making actual Korean sentences yourself eventually, based on what you've learned from us. Okay? Very good. Before we start, you should know that we are not trying to show you all the conjugations with this one page. Just relax and take a look at it and move on. Okay, let's take a look at the most basic verb do in Korean. Let's see the basic form first. We've made an agreement to call it a basic form instead of an infinitive, even though it's a verb. Do you remember? Okay. Can you read this? Of course you can, right? Please don't say no, otherwise you need to go back to lesson 1 and 2. You don't need the romanization for this kind of simple word, do you? Okay, let's read it together. 하다, 하다. This is the basic form of the verb do in Korean. Yes, it's like an infinitive in English. All of the basic form of verbs and adjectives ends with 다 in Korean, which means this 다 sound doesn't have any meaning in it. Therefore, this ha sound contains all the meaning of this word actually. We call this ha part the stem of the word, or the stem of the verb, or stem of the adjective. Okay? Please remember the term, the stem of the word. Okay? Let's take a look at the next form of the verb do. It's 한다, 한다. This is the present simple form of the verb do with the ending 다 in Korean. We added ni은, which sounds n, like n in English, to the basic form 하다 to make it present simple. Just take a look at it. Don't need to take it seriously now. We don't use this form in a conversation, but you use this form in your diary or journal. If you want to keep your diary or journal in Korean, you should know the basic form so that you can make this present simple form with the ending 다 too. But for now, just remember this one thing. Strangely, this present simple form in Korean can mean present continuous or present progressive, whatever the term is, or sometimes even future simple tense in reality. This is a quite important tip because it means even though you know only the present simple tense, you can make a sentence in the present continuous or the future simple tense. We will show you some examples very soon. Plus, we're going to explain all about this over and over again, so don't worry. Let's move on to the next one. 하고 있다. 하고 있다. This is the present continuous form. It seems like this 고 있다 sound were added to the basic form or to the stem 하 to make it present continuous or progressive. Are you having trouble reading the third letter it with a double s consonant as the final? You don't have a problem with the initial consonant and the vowel, but maybe a little bit confused with the final. In lesson 2, we explained that we never pronounce both of the consonants in the final. Fortunately, we have the two same consonants in the final, so needless to say, it would pronounce the same as one consonant in the final does. How you pronounce 시옷, which sounds s like s in English when it comes as a final. As we explained in lesson 2, it pronounces like romanized alphabet T or D. Why D? You really need to go back to lesson 2. Well, we're actually going to keep repeating what we learned in the previous lessons until you get familiar with them. But we'll be missing out a lot of things eventually. Plus, some might think it's a waste of time repeating the things we learned before. So, it'll be much better for you to go back to the previous lessons and study them again. Okay, let's take a look at the next form. 합니다. 합니다. Present tense with the honorific suffix 니다. We add 비읍, which sounds b like b in English, to the stem 하 as a final, and we read this 합 like HAB or HAP in romanization. And we told you that it's better to think of it as HAB 합 instead of the correct romanization HAP 합. It's all in lesson 2. Okay, of course we can make the past tense or the future tense with this honorific suffix 니다, but we are not going to check them out in this lesson because we are not going to use the form which ends in 다, at least at level 1. Okay, let's take a look at the last one. This is the most important form for us because we're gonna keep using this form with the honorific suffix 요, at least at level 1. It's the most casual form you can use anywhere, anytime in Korean. You can use the honorific suffix 요 to any stranger, any acquaintance, or anyone whom you don't know very well. So, you don't have to remember the rest of the forms on this page, but you need to remember this one. It's 해요, 해요, which is the present simple tense form with the honorific suffix 요. So we added a vowel e to the stem 하 and make it 해 and added 요, okay? 해요, 해요. Then, why we had to add e vowel to the stem? Very good question. We'll explain about it later. It's just not the right time for you to learn about this. Just remember this 해요 part for now. 해요. You're gonna hear this 해요 plenty of times from now on, don't worry. Okay, since this page is super important, we're gonna recap this page. First, there's always a basic form of a verb or an adjective. We don't use the basic form in our actual conversation, but it's very important to know because that makes it easier for you to understand how to conjugate the verbs and adjectives. Conjugate means change. Second, we call the unchanged part of a verb or an adjective the stem of the word. For example, this 하 part of the verb do is the stem of the verb, and you can make the past tense or honorific form with adding things such as ending to this stem, okay? Third, we are going to make sentences using honorific suffix 요 mostly, because it's the most casual form that you use in a normal everyday conversation. We'll explain more about this again soon, don't worry. Look at all these Korean letters written on this page. Gives you a headache, doesn't it? I gotta tell you, it ain't easy from this lesson, but don't worry, we'll try our best to explain it good. First of all, You should know we are not learning something from this page. You should rather feel something from this page. This page is added to briefly show you how verbs and adjectives change according to the tense and the honorific suffix before we start the actual lesson. But you don't have to memorize anything from this page. What we want you to feel in this page, at least, is there are unchanged part of a verb or an adjective and changed part of a verb or an adjective. Okay? We can explain all the changes in verbs and adjectives with this one page. It's not only impossible for now, but also really unnecessary. We didn't even put all the tenses here. So just listen to our voice casually and move on. We'll explain more specifically about each one of these later again. Okay, let's take a look at the verb part first. There are two types of the verbs in Korean. One is noun plus do verb. There are some verbs that noun part is not actually a noun, but let's not talk about it now. And the other one is just a verb. Let's take a look at the basic form. Let's see how the verb swim looks like. 수영하다, 수영하다. Is there anything familiar in this verb? 하다, right? As we explained, this 하다 is the equivalent of the most basic verb do in English. Then what is 수영? It's a noun form of the verb swim, okay? Even in English, the word swim can be both a verb and a noun, right? In Korean, we add 하다 to the noun 수영 to make it a verb. There are plenty of verbs like this in Korean. You don't have to know this now, but verbs and adjectives that end in 하다 normally have Chinese equivalent, but not all, just normally. If you're a Chinese or you speak Chinese very well, it would be probably easier for you to learn more difficult Korean vocabulary, as a lot of difficult Korean words have a Chinese origin. Okay, let's take a look at all the basic forms first. What's the basic form of the verb walk? 걷다, 걷다. We've already seen this verb in lesson 2, so you shouldn't have a problem reading it. Obviously, there is no 하다 with this verb. Only 다 is here. This 다 is always attached to the basic form of the verbs and adjectives. So just don't worry about it. So this 걷 sound must be the stem of this verb. Let's move on. Let's see the basic form of the adjective pretty. 예쁘다, 예쁘다. Strangely, this adjective also ends in 다. As we told you earlier, adjectives in Korean work like a verb, so it looks like a verb. Let's take a look at the present simple tense form of them. First, a noun plus do verb, swim. 수영한다, 수영한다. It becomes 수영한다 from 수영하다, right? Don't worry, just feel the sound. The second one, the present simple form of the verb walk. 걷는다. It becomes 걷는다 from basic form 걷다. Okay? It looks like when 은다 sound is added to the verb, it becomes present simple form, right? Don't worry, just make a peace with it and move on. We already told you that we don't use this form in a conversation, but use it in your diary or journal. Keep that in mind. How about the present simple form, the adjective pretty? We didn't put the present simple form, the adjective pretty. We'll explain the reason. Listen carefully. If we make the present simple form of the adjective pretty with the same 은다 sound, it would sound very strange. 예쁜다. There's no such word in Korean. Because in Korean, the present simple form can also mean present continuous. Therefore, if you add the same ending 은다 to an adjective as you do to a verb, it would sound like present continuous form of the adjective, We don't even say you are being pretty in English, do you? It's kind of in the same line. Then how do we make present simple form of an adjective? You just use the basic form of it, okay? So you can put the same 예쁘다, the basic form of the adjective pretty, in the blank of present simple. We simply didn't do that because we are not sure which one is more confusing. This applies only to the adjectives in the present simple tense with the ending 다. Okay? So nod your head twice and move on. Let's take a look at the present continuous form. The present continuous form of the verb swim is 수영하고 있다. Walk. 걷고 있다. Yeah, now you're getting it right. It seems like this 고 있다 part make the verb present continuous. And you know you can't make the present continuous form of an adjective with the same ending 고 있다. We don't even have to explain about it. How can you possibly use the present continuous form of an adjective while we don't even use the present simple form of an adjective because of the nuance of the present continuous it has? You get it, right? Let's check out the present simple form with the honorific suffix 니다. If you want to know the usages of the honorific suffix, please go back to lesson 2. But you don't even have to go back to lesson 2. Just check out the sound of them. Swim. 수영합니다. 수영합니다. Walk. 걷습니다. 걷습니다. Pretty. 예쁩니다. 예쁩니다. Looks like this 니다 part is the common part added here, right? How about present simple with the honorific suffix 요? This is the form we are going to use mostly in this lesson. If you go to lesson 2, you can find the reason why we use this honorific suffix in our learning materials. Because when you meet any native Korean for the first time, you better use the honorifics. There are formal honorifics and casual honorifics in Korean. It's okay to use formal honorifics in an everyday conversation, but it might sound a bit too formal. That's why it's better to use casual honorifics with the suffix 요. Let's take a look at the verb swim first. 수영해요. The basic form 수영하다 becomes 수영해요. We see this 해요 part again. How about the verb walk? 걸어요. 걷다 becomes 걸어요. Strange, isn't it? Because unchanged part 걷 has changed. This is irregular change. This is one of the hardest parts in learning Korean. We'll explain about it later again. How about the adjective pretty? 예뻐요. 예쁘다 becomes 예뻐요. Well, maybe many of you have found out that the vowel of the second letter of 예뻐요 has changed. It looks like an irregular change, but it's actually not. We'll tell you the principle later again. Please don't freak out. It's not like 33% of the Korean verbs and adjectives change irregularly. We put them on this page on purpose to show you there are something like this. Most of the verbs and adjectives change regularly according to the principle. We'll let you know the principle sometime soon. Anyway, it looks like this 해요 or 어요-ish sound has been added. We keep saying this, but don't worry. We're gonna learn when and why we add 해요 or 어요 sound very soon. You just don't need to know about it right now. Let's see one more form. Past tense with the honorific suffix 요. Swim. 수영했어요. Walk. 걸었어요. Pretty. 예뻤어요. So it looks like this 했어요 or 었어요 sound were added to the basic form of the verb to make them the past tense with the honorific suffix 요, right? Did you find something strange? Because it was written 했어요, 걸었어요, 예뻤어요, but it was pronounced 했어요, 걸었어요, 예뻤어요, right? We'll explain why later in this lesson, don't worry. How many times did we say don't worry so far? We are just worried if you are frustrated by all the letters on this page. Again, We didn't show you this page to explain perfectly about the changes in Korean verbs and adjectives. We just want you to take a look at it and move on, because we are going to explain all about them later again when it's necessary, okay? Please don't get stressed out. Just remember that there is unchanged part in verbs or adjectives, and we call it the stem. Once we add a certain part such as 해요 or 어요, we can change the verb easily to the form we can use in a real-life conversation. And we call this 해요 or 어요 part the end of a word or ending of a word. Okay? Very good. Okay, let's start with the first sentence pattern, subject plus verb. Let's take a look at the sentence on the top left. I swim. We already seen this verb swim, right? And let's take a look at the Korean sentence. Whenever you see the English sentence and Korean sentence in this lesson, you should compare the sentence structure or the position of the words in those two sentences, okay? The Korean word for the English pronoun I is 저. 저. 저 is the honorific form of I. So you can use it in an honorific sentence with the honorific suffix such as 요 or 니다. As we learned, the basic form of the English verb swim is 수영하다. We can say that it's a noun plus 하다 verb or a noun plus do verb. And as we already learned, the present simple form of the verb swim with the honorific suffix 요 is 수영해요. 수영해요. So, I, 저, swim. 수영해요. 저 수영해요. Easy, isn't it? Please see the vocab box on the right. There are two I's in Korean. Well, there are more, but these two will be enough for you for a very long time. 나 and 저. 나 is used in an informal sentence. If you use 나 in an honorific sentence with the suffix 요 or 니다, it will sound a little bit strange. Well, you can still do that. Everybody would understand since you are a foreigner. Native Koreans sometimes do that too, but it can sound less polite to native speakers. So you better use 저 in an honorific sentence all the time. Therefore, just remember 저. That's enough for now. Let's take a look at the verb swim one more time. The basic form of the verb swim in Korean is 수영하다. It's a so-called noun plus 하다 verb or noun plus do verb. So 수영 is a noun, which means a swim. When a verb or an adjective that ends in 하다 combines with the honorific suffix 요, this 하다 part becomes 해요. So the basic form 수영하다 becomes 수영해요 with the honorific suffix 요. How about we just memorize this entire 해요 part instead of explaining why it becomes 해요? Because we always use 해요 when we convert this kind of noun plus 하다 verb into the present simple form with the honorific suffix 요. No exception. We'll explain why it became 해요 when the time comes, okay? So remember this 해요 part. Let's move on. The position of the subject and the verb here is the same as in English because, it's a simple sentence. We call the verbs like swim an intransitive verb. The action taken affects only on the subject of the sentence. In other words, it is the subject who takes the action. Only intransitive verbs can make the pattern number 1 sentence in English. Yes, there is the concept of the intransitive verb and transitive verb in Korean as well. Then is it important to know the concept of the intransitive and transitive verb when we learn Korean? For now, the answer is no. In English, intransitive verbs can directly take an object without the preposition, but there is no concept of the preposition in Korean, so you don't really have to care about it for now. But there is something you should know though. In Korean, a verb or an adjective comes at the end of the sentence all the time. Okay? Well, okay, let's put it this way. In Korean, a verb or a predicate adjective prefers to come at the end of the sentence. So if you position the verb or the predicate adjective at the end of the Korean sentence, no matter what, you will not fail. We promise. Okay? Let's move on. In English, the principal use of the present simple is to refer to an action or an event that takes place habitually or to a temporary present state. But in Korean, present simple can be used to refer to both present simple and present continuous, and even sometimes future simple. Of course, there is another form that indicates only present continuous, which refers to something taking place at the present moment. Therefore, sometimes you need to input adverb or adverbial phrase to clarify the tense in the present simple tense. We will show you some examples very soon. We like to mention something about pronunciation before you are fully activated. Please do not try to make the exact sound now, nor imitate only the sound you hear. Just try to understand the sound of each alphabet first. That's enough. Just learn being natural by doing. Koreans are also quite generous to the foreigners who speak their language as other language speakers would be. They might laugh at you, not because you look stupid, but because they are amazed by the fact you speak Korean and think you're very cute to do that. That's why they laugh. We are sure. So, as we told you, it's more important to communicate than to speak perfect, okay? We believe you got the point. We told you that the present simple tense can mean the present continuous tense or sometimes future tense in Korean. Do you remember? We'll prove it with the sentence we've learned. I swim. 저 swim. 수영해요. 저 수영해요. The sentence 저 수영해요 looks like being in the present simple tense. But in Korean, it can mean both present simple and present continuous, maybe future simple too. Therefore, it will be much clearer if you add an adverb such as now, every day, tomorrow, and etc. Let's see the first sentence. I, every day, swim. We put the word every day. Now we can tell for sure that the subject I go to swim regularly or habitually because of the word every day. So needless to say, it is absolutely okay to use the present simple tense form of the verb in a Korean sentence. The present simple tense form of the verb swim with the honorific suffix 요 in Korean is 수영해요. 수영해요. Check out the position of the words every day though. Korean sentence always, is preferred to end in a verb or an adjective, as we told you. It's very important. So we better put every day in the middle of the subject I and the verb swim. So it goes like I every day swim. I 저 every day 매일 swim 수영해요. 저 매일 수영해요. I every day swim. Okay? Let's see the next one. I now am swimming. Or I am now swimming. This English sentence is in the present continuous tense. But in Korean, strangely, you can still use the present simple tense form of a verb swim, 수영해요, to mean the present continuous tense. Therefore, you better put an adverb such as now to clarify the fact that this sentence is in the present continuous tense. Okay? The same thing happens in Chinese too. I, 저, now, 지금, am swimming. 수영해요. 저 지금 수영해요. 저 지금 수영해요. We use the same present simple form with the honorific suffix 요, 수영해요 for the English am swimming. which is in the present continuous tense. Got it? Yes, we're gonna learn the actual present continuous tense form as well later in this lesson, so don't worry about it. Let's see the next English sentence. I, tomorrow, am going to swim. It's in the future tense with the be going to part. Even if you use the modal will, the same thing will apply. Anyway, you can use the same 수영해요, which is the present simple form with the honorific suffix 요, if you use the proper adverb or adverbial phrase, which indicates the future. We use the word tomorrow here. Tomorrow is 내일, 내일 in Korean. I, 저, tomorrow, 내일, 내일, am going to swim. 수영해요. 저 내일 수영해요. Yes, even though we use the same 수영해요, we can mean the future tense without a problem. People will not find any flaw. Of course, there are the actual future tense forms in Korea. We will learn about it in lesson 4. There is a reason why we teach you this. First of all, because we want you to know that you can make lots of sentences just with the present simple tense form with the honorific suffix 요 in Korean, even though you don't know all the conjugation of a verb or an adjective. Second, you should know the present simple tense form in Korean has the nuance of present continuous. That's it. Don't worry, we'll remind you of this later again. Let's talk a little bit about the sentence structure or position of the words, whatever you call it. It's not strange to put the adverb anywhere in the sentence in English, right? The same thing applies to Korean. Let's see the examples with the verb walk. Sometimes, 가끔, 가끔, I, 저, walk, 걸어요. 가끔 저 걸어요. Or, I, 저, am walking, 걸어요. Now, 지금. Please check out the position of the adverb sometimes and now in these sentences. In the first sentence, the adverb sometimes came before the subject I. And in the second sentence, the adverb now came after the verb walking. The point is, you can position the adverb anywhere you want, even in a Korean sentence. But it is better for you to think that a Korean sentence always ends with a verb or an adjective. It will make it a lot easier for you to learn the sentence structure of Korean. From now on, let's say Korean sentences start with a subject and ends with a verb or an adjective. Period. Let's move on. Do you want to learn present continuous too? I am walking. Of course, you can use the present simple form to refer to the present continuous tense in Korean, but it would be more obvious if you use the actual present continuous form, right? Let's see how it looks like. I is 저 am walking. Can you read this? 걷고 있어요. If you want to pronounce it more naturally, 걷고 있어요 or 걷고 있어요. Let's learn why 있어요 part actually sounds like 있어요 on the next page. You will learn more reading rules eventually, by the way, from user lesson 3. The basic form of the verb walk in Korean is 걷다, 걷다, and 걷 is the stem of the word. Since 걷 is the stem, the rest 고 있어요 must be the ending. Let's remember this 고 있어요 part because this seems to be the part that turned the sentence into the present continuous tense. Let's see the breakdown of the present continuous form on the bottom. We are explaining this because even though there are irregular change things and exceptions, pretty much the same thing applies to most of the verbs and adjectives, so no harm to learn about it. Okay? Let's see the present continuous form again. 걷고 있어요. Let's break it down a little bit. The first letter, let's say the first part, 걷 seems to be the stem of the basic form of the verb. The second part, 고, it works like a bridge to link the stem and the ending. You can say that it's an abbreviation of the conjunction and in English. Don't worry, you don't have to remember anything on this page. Just listen to our voice casually. The third part, it, yo. We don't know what it means now, but it provides the nuance that the current situation still remains going on. Okay, keep moving on. Don't think anything. Let's completely break down this present continuous form then. We can say that it consists of the basic form of the verb walk, 걷다, and another verb, 있다, which roughly means exist, or stay still, or something keeps its position, or keeps going on. As we've just explained, this verb 있다 provides the nuance that the current situation still remains going on with the meaning we've just mentioned. And in between, there is the conjunction and, 그리고, which links the two verbs 걷다, which means walk, and 있다, which roughly means current situation remains going on. So, walk and the status of walking keeps going on. That's what makes present continuous. Now you understand better? Let's see more examples in a couple of pages. Is it difficult for you to read or pronounce it, yo part? Because it's actually pronounced 있어요 or 있어요. Let's see how to pronounce it more naturally before we go any further. Let's take a look at yo part on the top left. Do you remember we told you that we never pronounce both of the consonants in a consonant cluster or a double consonant of the final of the block in lesson 2? If you don't, you know what to do. If you read this part as it is written, it will sound yo, right? Then see what is about to happen on the right. When there is ing, the rounded empty consonant in the initial of the letter block, it takes the sound of the final of the formal block all the time in Hangul. Do you understand what it means? Because this round thing, ing consonant, does not contain any sound originally. It takes the sound from the final consonant of the formal block. Okay? It's round, so it can't contain anything. If the final of the formal block is a consonant cluster or a double consonant, there are two consonants in the final, right? So the sound of the second consonant is to be taken because it's closer to ing in the next block. The consonant s, the name of which is 시옷, sounds like romanized alphabet T when it is used as a final. And it sounds romanized alphabet S when it is used as an initial. You know that. So let's move the second 시옷, s consonant in the final of the formal block to the initial of the next block. So it becomes 있어요, right? But when the consonant s goes up to ing in the letter block, it tends to sound like double consonant s rather than just a single s sound. So it's 있어요, 있어요. But even if you pronounce it 있어요, everybody can understand in Korea. No worries, but you better remember that it actually sounds 있어요 with a double consonant s sound. Let's see the next one. Why did we put 디귿, which sounds to like D in English in the final? We explained about it in lesson 2. This to consonant sounds the same as s consonant when it is used as a final of the block. So when you read the third one with the 시옷 as a final, and the last one with 디귿 as a final, whichever you read, it will sound the same. 있어요, 있어요. If you don't understand the initial sound or the final sound stuff, you better go back to lesson 2. Let's see the second part of this page then. This is another way to put this. Some might say that the entire final double consonant, which has s sound, originally goes up to ing, which is the rounded empty consonant in the letter block. And that's why the initial of the letter block becomes the double consonant s sound. You can think it in that way too, but it's going to be a bit confusing later because it is always the one consonant goes up to iung in the next block in most of the cases. So it's up to you. If you look into the Korean dictionary, it is said that 있어요 without any final in the first block is the correct pronunciation. But in reality, 있어요 and 있어요 with the 시옷 as a final, 있어요 with the 디귿 as a final sound pretty much the same, especially when we spit them out faster. 있어요, 있어요, 있어요. 있어요, 있어요, 있어요. So don't worry, it's just 있어요. You know what? In spoken Korean, nobody really cares about this kind of a small difference. Nobody. Maybe it's the same in English, but of course there are pronunciations that actually matter. But not this. So just remember that the second letter actually sounds like double consonant, s. That's it. You will hear this 있어요 sound a plenty of times from now on. Let's move on. Then let's practice making the present continuous tense form with other verbs. Let's start with the verb we've already learned, the verb swim. I swim. What's the basic form of the verb swim? 수영하다. 수영하다, right? How it changes when it combines with the honorific suffix 요. We see this 하다 part in it. Let's just swap it with 해요 sound without using our brain. 수영해요, which is the present simple tense form of swim with the honorific suffix 요. How to make the present continuous tense form then? I is 저 am swimming. Let's see the grammar section. Let's see how to make a present continuous form when it's one of the noun plus do verbs or when it contains 하다 part in the basic form anyway. The basic form of the verb swim is 수영하다. The stem of 수영하다 is 수영하. 수영하. Remember that. 수영 is not a stem. It's a noun form of the verb swim. The actual stem of this verb is 수영하. We need to add the ending 고 있어요, 고 있어요 to make it present continuous. So 수영하 고 있어요. 수영하고 있어요. Some might ask, then how come the stem 수영하 part was changed when we made the present simple tense form? Because 수영하다 became 수영해요 in the present simple tense. It's a very good question, but it's not the time for you to learn about it. It's too complicated for you. Just remember that when you turn the verb or the adjective which has 하다 part into the present simple form with the honorific suffix 요, you turn the 하 sound into 해 sound and add 요. So we told you that you just remember the entire 해요 part for now. Okay? And when you turn the verb into the present continuous form, because you don't make present continuous of an adjective. Anyway, when you turn the verb into the present continuous form, you add 고 있어요 part to the stem. Okay? So I am swimming is 저 수영하고 있어요. 저 수영하고 있어요. Very good. Then let's turn the normal verb into the present continuous form. You just need to go 있어요 sound to the stem. It's the same. The basic form of the verb walk is 걷다. 걷다. The stem is 걷. If we add 고 있어요, it will make the present continuous. We already learned about this. 걷고 있어요. 걷고 있어요. Again, you just need to find the stem of the verb and add 고 있어요 to it. That's it. You know, the stem is the main part of the word which does not change while the ending changes. Very good. Now let's make sentences with the subject, verb, and object. It's getting interesting, isn't it? you can say that you are going to learn how to translate the English pattern number 2 into Korean. This sentence pattern number 2 is super useful, so let's learn it well. You can make thousands of sentences with this simple pattern. Let's start with I love you. It's always good to start with I love you. Let's check out the position of the words in the sentence first. As we told you in our introduction video, learning the new language is like you learn the position of the words and the small elements only that language has. So what you need to know when you make a Korean sentence is the position of the words and the translation of the words, and then any small element required by only that language. What is the sentence structure in English then? Subject comes first all the time, and then verb comes, and then object comes after the verb. How about Korean? Subject comes first all the time in Korean too. Again, from now on, you think that a subject comes first even in a Korean sentence. It will make it a lot easier to make the rest of the sentence. And as we said, a verb or an adjective, which is used as a predicate, comes at the end of the sentence all the time, right? Yes, you can say that without an exception. How about an object? You put an object right before the verb in Korean. So the sentence structure is going to be subject and object and verb in Korean. It's going to be like I, you, love. Why do you explain so simple things too much? Well, because of the basics and strong fundamental that we concern most. Then let's find the translation for each word. I is 저. You is 당신. 당신 is the direct translation of the English pronoun you, and is the honorific form of you. Love. It's a verb. The basic form of the verb love is 사랑하다. It's one of those a noun plus 하다 verb. Therefore, you should turn the 하다 part into 해요 to use the honorific suffix 요. 사랑해요. Okay? 저, 당신, 사랑해요. I love you. Easy, it's nothing, isn't it? Maybe you think it's too easy. However, there are two things you must learn on this page. First, you never really use the pronoun you, 당신, in a Korean honorific sentence. Again, you don't use 당신 in a Korean honorific sentence. In an informal sentence, you always use the pronoun you. It's okay. But we are now learning the honorific sentence, so better not use 당신. Because 당신 is often used in an offensive way. So if you call someone 당신, it could imply that you are angry now. Furthermore, most of the time, Koreans get around saying the word you in an honorific sentence through substituting it with someone's position or the words that shows someone's relationship with you. You don't even call a stranger 당신 in Korea. Koreans don't call each other by name normally unless they are close friends who are of the same age. We'll learn about this in lesson 4 again. It's not a rule, but it's kind of a culture, therefore good to know. Second, when we speak Korean, we often get rid of you or I when it's so obvious. When we say I love you in Korean, we normally don't mention both the subject I and the object you because it is so obvious that I'm talking to you, that you are the one that I love. So we don't have to say I, 저, and you, 당신. We only say love, the verb. 사랑해요. Weird, isn't it? If someone say love to you, you'd ask love what? Or love whom? But it works in Korean. If someone says 사랑해요 to you, it means he or she loves you. Okay? Very good. Koreans use the verb like far much more than the verb love. We say I love something a lot in English. For example, I love music, I love Korean food, I love beer, I love coffee, and so on. But in Korea, people rather say I like something very much than I love something. I like music very much. I like Korean food very much. I like beer very much. Or I like coffee very much. So let's learn the sentence with the verb like. I like an apple. This sentence is in the English sentence pattern number 2. Subject plus verb plus object. One of our best fellow learners pointed out that it sounds weird to native English speakers because they use plural when they want to say that they like something. Like, I like apples. Thank you for your advice. We really appreciate that. Actually, there was a reason why we used the singular form here. It was mainly because we focused more on the Korean translation. Koreans don't really use the plural unless they want to emphasize the fact that there are more than one. It doesn't mean using plural is grammatically wrong. We would say it's just a colloquial talking habit of Koreans. English is relatively more logical language than Korean. We are not saying that one language is better than the other. Don't get us wrong. The point is, they are two very different languages. We'll try our best to make it logical though for you. We're gonna learn how to make a plural form in lesson 4. Okay? Anyway, you can think I like an apple here means I like apples. We're gonna use the singular form of an apple in Korean anyway. What's the position of the subject, verb, and object in Korean sentence? Yes, subject and then object comes first, and then verb at the end. So it's gonna be like I, an apple, like, or I, apples, like. Okay? So how do you say I in Korean? That's right. 저. An apple is 사과. 사과. As we told you, we are going to use the singular form, 사과. Okay? Let's take a look at the box on the right. An apple. In English, we add an indefinite article such as a or an in front of countable nouns or use the plural form. But in Korean, there is no concept of definite or indefinite article. So there is at least one thing actually easier than English. That's great. So apple is 사과 in Korean. The verb like, the basic form of the verb like in Korean is 좋아하다. 좋아하다. Are you okay with the first letter, 조? No problem reading it? Let's see the number 3 in the box on the right. We put the first letter, 조, in a bigger font size for you. It's the consonant, 즈, plus the vowel, 오, 즈, 오, 조, and the final consonant, hit, which sounds h, like the English alphabet H as an initial. However, we learned that this consonant is a silence when it's used as a final, and it doesn't add any sound to the next letter, a, which has the empty rounded consonant ing. So it's just 좋아하다, 좋아하다. It looks like a noun plus 하다 verb, but strangely, the first 2 letters, 좋아, don't make a noun. We told you there are exceptions. This one is one of them. But it conjugates the same as a noun plus 하다 verb does, because it also has the 하다 part. Then, how does it change when it combines with the honorific suffix 요? Yes, 해요, 해요. So it becomes 좋아해요, 좋아해요. The entire sentence is going to be 저 사과 좋아해요. 저 사과 좋아해요. Easy. It's a perfect sentence that you can use in a real-life conversation, but there is something you should learn on this page, which is super important. Let's take a look at the grammar section together. It's getting difficult, but don't worry, we'll explain it good. Have you heard of postposition particle in Hangul? We just told you that There is no indefinite or definite article in Korean, such as a, an, or the. Furthermore, in Korean, there is no concept of the preposition either. But unfortunately, there is postposition particle in Korean. This is one of the two hardest parts in learning Korean. The first one was irregular change of the verbs or adjectives, and the other one is postposition particle. You can say that postposition particle in Korean is something like preposition in English. It's not the same thing, but it's something like that. Maybe native English speakers don't really realize this, but for the people who study English as their second language, the preposition thing is one of the hardest parts in learning English. Maybe non-native speakers will never be able to understand the exact usage of them. Anyway, we are now going into the world of Korean postposition particle. Let's start with the easiest ones. Let us explain with the same sentence I like an apple or I like apples. I, 저, apple, 사과, like, 좋아해요, bang. Can you see the letters in red color? Letters in red color were added to the subject and the object. They are the postposition particles. In Korean, we add postposition particles to nouns or pronouns to present the role of them in the sentence. Again, the postposition particles are added to nouns or pronouns to show the role of them in the sentence or the relation with the other words in the sentence. For example, if we add 은 or 는 to the word, it means that is the subject of the sentence. Or if we add 을 or 를 to the word, it means that is the object of the sentence. Do not be overwhelmed, please. Just learn them one by one. Let's go to the next slide. We'll explain more about this. Let's just call it particle from now on instead of the longer version, postposition particle, even though that doesn't make you feel any better. Let's say goodbye to the sentence pattern number 2, subject plus verb plus object for a while. And let's learn the sentence pattern number 3, subject plus verb plus complement. Let's see the English sentence first. I am a student. How do we say this in Korean? Let's position the words first. Then we might get to the answer quicker. We have a pronoun I, be verb am, and a noun a student. Without using our brain, let's put the subject I at the head of the sentence and be verb am at the end of the sentence. Where should we put the complement student then? We don't know for sure, but based on the fact that Korean sentence normally starts with the subject and ends with a verb or an adjective, let's put a student in the middle of the sentence. So it is going to be like I, a student, am. You already know I is 저 with the particle 저는. How about a student? It's a noun. We just need a translation for it. A student is 학생. 학생 in Korean. You know we don't translate a or an. So I, 저, a student, 학생. Is that it? We need something to end the sentence, right? We need a predicative part to end the sentence. How we translate the be verb am into Korean then? Let's see the box on the right. In Korean, when we want to say something or someone is something, we use the predicate 이에요. Again, we use the predicate 이에요 to say that the subject is that thing you indicate or refer to in the sentence. Got it? There's no verb acting exactly like English be verb in Korean. So we normally don't translate the English be verbs. So 이에요 is not the translation of the English be verb actually. Keep that in mind. Too difficult? Let us put it this way. When you want to say something or someone is something, or A is B, and A equals B, you use the predicate 이에요 instead of the be verb is. But you can't use 이, 에, 요 for the other usages of be verbs. The basic form of this 이, 에, 요 is 이다. You don't have to know if it's a verb or an adjective for now. FYI, it's neither a verb nor an adjective. Let's take a look at the grammar part in the middle of the page. Actually, there are two. 이, 에, 요 is used when there is a final consonant in the formal block. 예, 요. 예, 요 is the short version of 이, 에, 요. It is used when there is no final consonant in the formal block. When you say 이, 에, 요 very fast, it actually sounds like 예, 요. 예, 요, 예, 요, 예, 요. So when you speak, you may not have to distinguish them because it sounds almost the same in reality. But when you write them, you should distinguish them. Let's see the next example. This is a rose. How do you say this in Korean? 이것, 이것. And the last word, 것, has the final sound. So you should use the particle 은. 이것은. A rose. 장미. A rose is 장미. The last letter of the formal block, 미, doesn't have a final consonant. So you use 예요 instead of 이에요. 이것은 장미예요. More naturally pronounced, 이것은 장미예요. 이것은 장미예요. Let's see the box on the right. Some might say 이에요 and 예요 are adjectives. You can think of it that way if you want, but we don't think those are adjectives. It's just a predicate. It's actually a predicate particle. You have to remember this. Only noun can be positioned before 이에요 or 예요. No wonder why it's used to say something or someone is something. 이에요 or 예요 is not the direct translation of the English be verb. But you can think of it that way only when we are trying to say that subject equals complement. Hope our explanation here was enough because this 이다 is quite important. For now, you just need to know anytime you want to say that subject is complement, you just use 이에요 or 예요. That's enough. This is the end of YouTube version of lesson 3. You can find the 2-hour length full version of video and usual lesson 3 on our website. The full version of video explains clearly about how to make the past tense. What is the principal conjugation rule of the present simple tense form with the honorific suffix 요? How to make negative sentences and how to convert the English pattern number 3, 4, and 5 to Korean. Okay? Alright, catch up later then.